Stickshift. Here with Brian Roth.
Howdy.
Hey man, so show us how this thing works. I mean, whenever, I think about an auto stick shift, I've always wondered, how? How does this work? And it's kind of a trip because I actually have never ridden in one, and you just recently repaired this one, so I thought this could be kind of fun to show people. So tell me a little bit about it.
Okay, so in 1968, they wanted to come up with something that was a little bit easier to drive, I guess. It's an interesting thing coming from a world of three pedals with a manual clutch and a manual shifter. Well, this car pretty much bridges the two between automatic and stick shift. You do still have to manually shift the gears, but if you look over here on the ashtray, it'll show you the H pattern is a little bit different.
Oh,
so you have a low gear, which is for taking off from dead stops, trying to get momentum going up hills, blah, blah, blah. But you normally stay in first or second gear, and you can shift between all three, but mainly you're gonna be operating in first gear up until about 40, 45, and then for your freeway speeds and higher speeds, you go to second. So the way the car actually works is it has a torque converter on the engine, but it also has a dry clutch in the transmission. And it uses a vacuum servo to operate the dry clutch, and that is actually operated through the shifter. So this has a little contact switch that breaks away, and you can hear.
Oh yeah, look at the RPMs are actually affected by the way.
Right.
Yeah, do it again. Yeah, you can hear it go up a little bit.
So the when you push on the shifter or pull on the shifter, what that's doing is actually actuating the diaphragm, the vacuum diaphragm that operates the dry clutch. And so the RPM picking up is the clutch disengaging free of the engine. So right now it's engaged, but you have the torque converter that allows a certain amount of RPM until it's fully engaged. And usually it's somewhere in and around 2000 RPM when it goes into full engagement.
Okay. So in other words, if you give it gas right now, it'll go into gear more?
It's not in gear. It's not currently in gear.
Okay.
The car won't start unless it's in neutral.
Okay.
So there's a switch on the transmission that does that. So, but so you can rev it up, and you're not going to go anywhere. But you can also, if you're in gear, say that's first gear.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Now my e-brake's on, but we're not going anywhere. So, and that's because of the torque converter, and so we know that the clutch isn't. You can feel it engage. Yeah. But we're still in gear, but that's because of the torque converter.
Okay, all right.
So now
you're in neutral again.
Now we're in neutral again. You can see we're just rolling backwards. Okay. So now it's gonna jerk going into reverse. Okay. But then you pull over, push down, and forward.
Oh, and forward. Oh wow. Okay.
There it is.
Oh yeah.
And now,
just
let off the brake.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay.
So, being that you're usually racing around in your 67, is your left foot going, hey man, when do I come into play?
Yeah, there's it's the same thing like if you're driving an automatic modern car.
Okay.
So, but with this, the nice thing is you put it in that, so we're just going into first, not into low.
And that's the only gear that you could go into going forward then, how is first?
No,
there's no other. Oh, no,
second.
But what I'm saying is up here, there's nothing else except reverse and first.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
So.
Okay.
So it's super easy. The car's just gonna keep going on its own.
Okay.
And so we're not even gonna shift gears going to the end of the street here.
Okay. Oh, look at that. Wow. Oh, so wait. So now when you let off, you don't have to put it into neutral or anything.
Nope. Torque converter takes care of that.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah. And so now I'm going to show you something that you're not supposed to do. While you're driving these, you're not supposed to rest your hand on the shifter.
Okay.
So
Why?
I'll show you.
Okay.
So you know about the toggling, right?
Right.
Well, if you put your hand on the shifter.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
So because you can rest your hand, but you just can't move that shifter at all.
Wow. Okay.
And now we've just pulled second gear, and now we can go on the freeway.
That's wild. Okay. It seems so easy.
It's the easiest thing, and believe it or not, coming from the world of a manual transmission, you know, we know how crazy those things can be, where you're just like, oh my god, I'm sitting in traffic and I want to, you know, if you got like a stage 2 clutch, it's gonna wear on your leg.
Yeah.
And then if you got a ton of torque and whatnot, you know, it's gonna be rough. But see, we've come to a complete stop.
You don't have, so it's still in gear.
So
still
this
first?
is in
oh, no,
second.
It's in second. Okay.
But we can start off, it's gonna be really sluggish.
Okay.
So now we're gonna go back to first.
Okay.
And we can just leave it like that. Some people will say they recommend you pop it back into neutral.
Why is that? Why do some people? Who are those people?
It's just, I don't know. It's what, I don't know who came up with that, but the lady that owns the car, she told me that when she bought the car, the people she got it from recommended that you leave it in
neutral.
Leave it in neutral when you're at stop signs. You don't have to. The torque converter is not going to do anything until it starts building pressure, so it's not going to hurt.
So we're at what, 40 miles an hour?
That's
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not watching your left foot, but when you go to shift into second, does your instinct push down on that left foot?
I've driven this car enough miles to catch myself, and you do have to think about it, but you can downshift with it, and then
you can?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
you do have to lift when you shift. So you come off the throttle as you're shifting.
Okay.
But I'll show you low gear.
So you're in what, second right now or
Right
first?
now I'm in low.
Oh, this is low.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the hill climbing one. Oh, wow.
Now and then you lift. So if you watch my foot, when I go to the second, lift, second gear.
Wow. And dude, this thing hauls ass.
It's great, right?
Yeah.
This car, the lady bought this car in 1975. I don't know if she's had the engine rebuilt or what.
Yeah.
But the car came to me with a number of transmission problems, and I said, look, we can't fix the problems with the transmission because it requires fixing the engine, making the engine run right, so that the vacuum signal doesn't get screwed up.
Right.
So I had to fix everything that was going wrong with the motor in order to fix the problems with the shifting of the transmission.
Gosh. Okay.
And
so wait. You just put it in neutral again. Right.
So it's in neutral right now.
Okay.
Because we got to cross traffic. I'm going to put it in low again.
Oh, you're in low again.
Yep.
So you put it in low when you kind of got to get zippy with it, huh?
Because it will lag.
Well, okay.
It will lag in first gear. Like if you have to, if you have to go up a hill or something like that, it'll go.
Okay.
It'll just take more time because there's a taller gear there.
Yeah. That's such a trip, dude.
Yeah. You want to try it?
Negative.
No. And
as much as I do, I know you've had this car, and the last thing I want to do is do something wrong with it. So now,
the funny thing about
weird.
The funny thing about these cars is that everybody hates them.
Really?
It's because they don't understand them. You know, I hear people, oh yeah, you know, there's this bitchin', 68, 69 bug or whatever, and like, oh, but it's an auto stick, and I'm like, yeah, that's why it's $3,500. But if you get it working right, it can be absolutely phenomenal to drive. I've driven numerous customer auto sticks home with me and commuted in them here and there, and it's just so much easier. And you don't have to think about the clutch. You don't have to, oh, did I get the right gear? You don't this thing's not going to grind gears unless there's something wrong with the clutch or whatever.
Now, parts wise, is there the unobtainium?
Yeah, like one of the things that I had to do with this car was I had to replace the torque converter.
Okay.
The torque converter, it seemed to be problematic for the car. It was loading up too soon, and then the car wouldn't accelerate. It didn't have the power to accelerate. It was just because there's a certain amount of time, so it has to, from idle to about 2,000 RPM, it has to build up to it. And if it's already locking up at lower RPM, it's going to load too much. So it would work on low gear, but then it wouldn't work on the higher gears.
Got it.
Unless you were really wound out, and which is difficult to do with something that's only got 50 horsepower. So, but the torque converter was interesting because they don't make those new. So you have to find a core, then you have to find a guy that's going to rebuild them. So I actually had to come up with 2 cores because the first core was bad, and then the second core, parts of that were bad. So the shop was able to take the 2 cores, cut it apart, and then put the 2 pieces together. Other things that aren't, you can get gaskets and seals for them still. The control valve, which actually controls and modulates the amount of vacuum used for the diaphragm that operates the dry clutch. Like rebuilt versions of all that, they do exist, but you're not going to find this stuff new unless you know somebody who's got it.
Right. Huh, interesting.
So,
and the auto stick, was 68 the first year that it came out?
Was the first year.
Okay.
There's some debate about how long it went. I'm not totally sure about it.
And they did it in Type 1s, Type 3s.
They only did it in the Type 1s, the Type 1 transmission, or the Type 1 base cars, so the Gias and the Bucks.
Okay. I thought weren't you like in a fastback one time? I thought you had a fastback, a customer's car that was auto stick.
It was full automatic.
Oh, full automatic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those cars are, are completely different. Those are just put it in drive and go, and no manual shifting.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's kind of cool, man. That's pretty neat. I dig it.
It's pretty cool, 1960s technology.
Right.
It was just, this kind of led way to, different types of transmissions over the years, and European car companies adopted over time. This was like a precursor to your, Tiptronic transmissions of today. So it's kind of neat.
That's cool, man.
And so long as it works, it's good stuff, man. I don't mind
like
it at all.
fuel injection.
Yeah. It's like fuel injection.
I dig it. Well, awesome, dude. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the tutorial.
Uh-huh.
All right, now people are going to go out there and start buying auto sticks.
Do it.
All right.